Your Excellency, the President, and all the other colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the third retreat and midterm review for the Cabinet and senior ranks of the Executive, convened by His Excellency President William Ruto, gathered for the midterm review of the performance of the government, marking 2.5 years since the fifth administration was installed in office in September 2022. The tone of the retreat was set by His Excellency the President in the opening statement, which highlighted the achievements that the government has recorded in fulfilling its commitments to the people of Kenya, anchored on the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. The retreat commended His Excellency the President for his leadership in steering the government to deliver on its promises to the people of Kenya, aligned with the bottom-up economic transformation agenda objectives of bringing down the cost of living, eradicating hunger, creating jobs, and expanding the tax base, improving foreign exchange balances, and fostering inclusive growth. It appreciated that these outcomes resulted from transformation-anchored policies, projects, and programs, which the government has and continues to implement in various sectors of the economy across all regions and counties of the country, enhancing the overarching mission of stabilizing the economy, improving the livelihoods of all Kenyans, and transforming Kenya into a prosperous, newly industrialized country. The retreat concurred with the President that while considerable progress was evident in key delivery milestones, there were shortfalls and gaps in particular areas that needed to be addressed for the government to wholly fulfill its binding social contract with the citizens. I pause there just to say that once we get the proceedings of this retreat and the report is extrapolated by the Cabinet Office, each one of us will be able to know what we need to do from what we've covered in the last 2 days, and basically from the keynote address of the President yesterday, twice actually, so that where, for example, guidance was given that going forward, this is what we need to do in this sector, then that's where the action points should flow. The progress made so far in service delivery, the retreat reviewed the status of the resolutions of the second retreat. It noted most of the resolutions of that retreat had been implemented or are on track, but there are others which are off track and have not been implemented. Again, I pause there to caution us that I hope once again the proceedings have been triangulated. Those areas which are off track or have not been implemented should have an implication on somebody's performance contract. The retreat noted that the retreat further noted that the status of the implementation of cabinet decisions since the second retreat and made similar findings. Some of them have been implemented, others are ongoing, others have not been implemented. On official development assistance, it appreciated the contribution of development partners to Kenya's transformation pathways and underlined the urgent need to resolve the bottlenecks hampering the absorption of loans and grants. The retreat noted the progress achieved in coordinating government business using the coordination tools developed to streamline activities across MDAs, effective implementation of priorities to maximize outputs and impacts, optimize resource allocation to stem duplication and overlaps, and improved engagement with stakeholders and citizens, knowledge sharing, and embracing a whole-of-government approach. These measures have improved public service delivery. The retreat received a report of the midterm performance of the fifth administration, focusing on how the implementation of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda has stabilized the economy, enabling it to overcome structural challenges, persistent multiple shocks, and financial stress. It appreciated key achievements under each of the priorities of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda pillars. Under agriculture, the retreat acknowledged the impact of provision of subsidized fertilizer and connecting farmers through digital platforms in scaling up agricultural value chains, which have contributed to food security arising from increased output of major crops and higher income to farmers. Under affordable housing, the retreat noted the tremendous impact of the program in providing decent shelter, job creation, particularly for the youth, and stimulating the construction industry value chains through supply contracts, many of them or some of them reserved for micro and small enterprises. Under universal health coverage, the retreat appreciated the remarkable growth in the number of Kenyans who have voluntarily registered for the social health insurance, which scaled up to 23 million from 8 million under the defunct National Health Insurance Fund. Expanded access to primary health care and scaling up of community health promoters, training and deployment is contributing to the gradual transition from curative to the more affordable preventive health care. Under the digital superhighway and creative economy, the retreat noted enhanced citizen access to government services, e-commerce, and creative opportunities, enabled by expansion of fiber optic cable network. Onboarding of government services on the e-citizen digital platform has rapidly expanded the citizens' access to government services, cutting costs by stemming corruption and cumbersome processes, and remarkably increasing government revenue. Under the MSME economy, the retreat endorsed the significant gains achieved, including access to affordable credit by over 2 million micro, medium, and small enterprise traders and entrepreneurs who benefited from the Financial Inclusion Fund, which enabled borrowers to repair their creditworthiness and borrow regularly to finance their business activities, thus contributing to job creation, expansion of the tax base, and economic growth agenda. In the education sector, the retreat noted the impact of reforms that have eased the transition from competence-based curriculum, CBC, to competence-based education and training, CBET, employment of teachers, and implementation of new funding model for universities and technical and vocational education and training institutions, and operationalization of the Open University of Kenya. The challenges and emerging opportunities. The retreat acknowledged the lessons learned during the first half of the fifth administration, underlining the need to address the risk constraining the effective delivery of government services while exploring emerging opportunities for strengthening the important gains made so far. The retreat identified a number of systemic risks that were constraining delivery and creating a government delivery and creating vulnerabilities in the transformation journey. The way forward and action points. The retreat resolved to strengthen government service delivery in order to enhance the administration's delivery and deepen the confidence of the people in its ability to deliver on their needs and expectations through reimagining the strategic vision for stimulating economic growth and job creation, defining pathways for charting the way ahead through the whole of government approach, to maintaining high foreign exchange reserves by stimulating export growth and reducing non-essential 3, improving the quality of data on all agricultural subsectors to inform evidence-based interventions that will consolidate and sustain the gains achieved in production, incomes, and jobs. 4, accelerating offtake of farmers' produce to put more money in the farmers' pockets. 5, upscaling teacher recruitment to support the drive towards an optimal teacher-learner ratio, as well as to continue effective implementation of the competence-based education and training. 6, building laboratories and other essential facilities to upgrade all schools to enable them offer high-quality education. 7, fine-tuning the new funding model for universities by streamlining and enriching the means testing instrument to ensure every student is placed in the right band and avoid disenfranchisement of any student. 8, registering every Kenyan and their dependents on the social health insurance scheme to ensure every Kenyan enjoys radiant health that will ensure optimal contribution to nation building. 9, rolling out the supply and installation of modern medical equipment on different financing frameworks with counties and suppliers. 10, completing reforms of the Kenya Medical Supply Agency in accordance with the framework agreed upon between the national and county governments. 11, scaling up digitization of government services by ensuring that all ministries, departments, agencies are onboarded on the eCitizen platform to further improve efficiency in public service delivery. 12, completing construction of ICT hubs across the country and procurement of computers to run the hubs, embracing the whole of government approach in procuring the computers, including the option of local manufacture. 13, migrating all hustlers into the credit worthiness bracket through financial inclusion options available from the Hustler Fund framework. 14, scaling up the affordable housing program to move up the construction sector value chain. 15, accelerating labor mobility coordination by signing up more bilateral labor agreements and scale up those that were signed before by renegotiating them to engage more professional workforce. 16, training more Kenyan youth on several foreign languages to improve their competitiveness for global jobs. 17, expanding capacities in special economic zones and explore new markets for Kenyan products. 18, deepening intergovernmental collaboration. 19, securing bilateral partnerships that respond to the transformation agenda and create mechanisms for protecting the interests of Kenyans in conflict regions. 20, deepening stakeholder engagement at different levels. 21, vertical and horizontal collaboration in governance. Finally, with regard to the implementation of the retreat's resolution, during the second half of the fifth administration's first term, the government will consolidate the gains achieved and re-energize Kenya's transformation journey, cementing opportunities for expanding economic growth and creating jobs that respond to the aspirations of our youthful population. Lastly, Your Excellency, because you asked this of me while you were here, it is proposed that the retreat report will be finalized in 3 days from today. It is also proposed that 14 days from today, all MDAs who have a job to do in terms of the remaining tasks for the next 2.5 years must present their proposals on how they will go about that in terms of the different sectors, as I've read out. Give us a roadmap. I know John Bundy has been given the 4 issues, for example, what to do around the single treasury account and the other things, the e-procurement that HE has talked about. Myself, I think I've been given some tasks around IBEC, whether we can pass the laws together, the 3 set of laws that sometimes take a lot of time before they are in force and therefore delaying disbursements. And also we've been asked to do a few other things around making sure that we have updated accounts. And I think, Your Excellency, that one is straightforward. The Constitution says that we will use accounts that have been approved by Parliament. So if Parliament brings the approval up to date by working overnight and making sure that all the reports, all the audit reports are discussed and approved by Parliament, we can be up to date without amending any law. The one on passing all the laws together, it's not possible. The only one we can drop is the conditional grants one, the one on additional county governments additional allocations act. That one we can make it part of the schedule to CARA, as we used to do before when leader Duale and myself were I almost said the original majority leaders, but the first majority leaders. Because you can, and I see no objection in terms of making that act just a schedule of CARA so that you have 2 laws instead of 3. Because conditional grants and additional grants used to be schedules to CARA. Otherwise, DORA and CARA are separate. One originates from the National Assembly, the other one originates from the Senate. By law, we cannot do much. And finally, Your Excellency, on personal accountability for accounting officers, we don't need any new law. Maybe a circular, an administrative circular, which will put into effect Article 226(5) of the Constitution that says any person who causes government to lose money because of their action, including, for example, tendering for things, for equipment for our hospital, which is not there, shall be held personally accountable. Whether they're in that office or whether they left that office, they will be followed and be held personally accountable. That constitutional provision is enough to get us done that. I know PCS has some homework around parliamentary legislative, not legislation, scheduling of cabinet secretaries before Parliament. And all this, therefore, within 14 days, each one of us, including MDAs, must bring us a roadmap. I had asked Mercy, once that is done, it could be brought to me on your behalf. I look at it, we forward it to you, so that Cabinet, in the next Cabinet meeting, which should be within a month, can adopt that roadmap so that we start implementing the resolutions of the 3rd National Executive Retreat. Thank you, Your Excellency, for listening to me. Normally, I cannot close an event like this when the President is sitting before me, but he has allowed me to make one announcement and close this meeting on his behalf, that the Cabinet Secretary is present and the Principal Secretaries have to sign off from the retreat.